It's John and Rachel, and we're Zooming for a good reason. This is a hard guy to track down. Who are we Zooming with, John? You're a fanboy.
Right. It's Trooper Steve Limani, and he will track you down.
Oh, boy.
Trooper Steve Limani, you have been on the podcast, and we watch you all the time on the news about different things, and love your attitude, love what you're doing, and how can we not love what you're doing out there in the Westmoreland County area this year again? So the good news is COVID's kind of laying low, and it's allowing you to do shop with the cop the way you want to do it, right?
Absolutely. I look forward to it every year. This is by far the best 6 days of Christmas because we spend 6 days Christmas shopping. By far the 6 best days of every year of my career. So I couldn't be any grateful. Thank you for having me on the show. I look forward to it. I look forward to watching you guys. I always get a good chuckle and a good laugh. It's always great watching you guys banter back and forth.
Wow. I'll tell you what, what's your Venmo account? I'll send the $10 over right now.
Give us a brief description of what Shop with a Cop is.
Yeah. So 12 years ago, I became the public relations officer, and my boss had said, hey, go out in the community and make a difference. I walked out of his office, had no idea what the hell that meant, right? Other than there's a couple demographics that no matter how long I was in patrol that I always cared about. And it was the people I felt like they were true victims always, which would be children and seniors. And I thought, what better way to try and reach the community, but to try and take those children that we run across on a daily basis, not just from the state police, but from all law enforcement aspects, and reach out to those children and see if they want to go Christmas shopping. It grew from that. We took 20 children shopping to now the general consensus up until COVID, we would take around 300 children shopping, and we're able to give them $150. And the great thing or bad thing about our county is it's very large. And I didn't know this. There's actually 6 Walmarts just within our county. So to be fair, and we would hit every single Walmart, and we invite the police officers from that region to take the kids shopping in the interest of not jamming the toy aisle and the clothing aisles and the areas that we generally shop at. We've just been going to one store a day. We've been asking the parents, which is actually one of my favorite parts, to stay in the car so that we can just go hang out with their children, right? Because I always tell them, like, your child has never been safer than they are right now. And last year, we had a lot of struggles, and I don't know if I made a Freudian slip, but I was talking to one of the superintendents, and they've been a good friend of mine throughout like a working relationship. And we were talking about what COVID, all the problems that it had presented. And one of the things she had told me was that teachers were seeing inside these student house, inside their houses, people screaming and vulgar language, and kids they thought lived a somewhat normal life. Their life was messed up, so we're talking about this. I said, what can we do to help? What can I do to help them? Can we take them shopping? Would that make a difference? And she was like, wow, that would be great. How many kids could you take shopping? And I was like, well, let me think about it. I'm like, I think we could handle 40 children. And I was talking to her as she was going into a superintendent's meeting, and she's like, wow, that would be incredible. I'm like, well, thanks. We're here to help. So a couple of days go by, and next thing I know, I get a different school, and I get their superintendent send me 40 kids. And then I had another school send me 40 kids. Then I had these districts, right? And I'm like, oh, wait a second. I'm like, did she tell every school district in our county, which there's a lot, you can take 40 kids? So now I took on 440 more children because there was 11 districts that contacted me. Yeah, multiply that times 150. Yeah, because it's $150 a kid. And I literally almost had tears in my eyes because I was going to make the shopping program. Like, I single-handedly was going to make the shopping program that I worked so hard to build. I was going to make it broke. And I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't have that money. We couldn't do our ugly sweater contest. We couldn't do our gun bash. The golf outing was, I want to say it was a flop. I reduced the price just to get people to come, and there was no dinner afterwards. I gave them a sandwich to go and said, take off. Right. So I'm like, I don't have this. I have no money. And I'm not a person.
You can't rob a bank in your field.
I mean, not necessarily a bank, maybe. We're going to have to try and roll a drug dealer, right? I'm teasing. And I'm driving around, and there was yard signs everywhere. And I'm like, why can't I have a yard sign? try and do good things. We try and help little people. Why can't we come up with the yard sign? So I went to the person that has always helped us with all of our signage stuff. And I'm like, hey, would you be willing to see what you could do to help maybe make a yard sign? I'll see if anybody will buy it. Like, who the hell's going to buy a sign for $150, right? So this was the sign, right? I don't know if you could see it, right? So it was 2020. I sponsored a kid for Shop with the Cop. I did a couple things about social media and sold 330 signs. People would just keep calling me or messaging me. How can we get a sign? I was driving a police car around and I had signs stacked in the back. I mean, I would have had to like arrest the person, sit down and say, okay, I'm going to put these signs on your lap. Right? because I didn't have a lot of room. I was running around putting these signs everywhere. And I was just, the people in Southwestern Pennsylvania, they rallied around and they saved our charity.
That's such a Pittsburgh story. Like you said, we rally around, we hear when there's a need.
And this is the one thing I remember is you told us sometimes those kids, when they go, they're not buying stuff for themselves, right?
Yes.
That's the part that really gets me.
It is the absolute tearjerker when you're sitting there with the child, and they're telling you about the person they look up to in their life, and they've never had a chance to ever buy them something, right? Because they've never had money. So many different stories where I had one girl, I was making fun of her. I'm like, don't you know which size pajamas you wear? Because she had all these different pajamas in her cart. And she's like, well, no. She's like, when I'm at foster care with these other children, no one has pajamas. She's like, I just had enough money to buy everybody pajamas. I'm like, well, wait, what about, did you get anything? She's like, no. She's like, I wasn't able to. She's like, there's this pair of earrings that I liked them. I'm like, well, how much were they? We're in Walmart. How much could the earrings be?
Yeah.
Said, well, they're like $25. I'm like, go get the earrings. She's like, but I would have spent, she's like, that would go over my budget. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. It just blows your mind how it happens over and over again with these children. And their thought process is, how do I help someone else? Not how do I help myself?
That's crazy.
And it's the true definition of Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't be any luckier than to be a part of that. And you know who else benefits from it? The guys and girls that walk around all big and bad in their uniforms, right, with their bulletproof vests and their gun belts. They're like little kids in that store with the other kids. And it's amazing how much they enjoy it. You could see the look on their faces, and it like takes them away from being like that, Billy Badass, so to speak, in the uniform, right? Sure. That's out there trying to save the day. And you have this little girl grabbing your hand saying, oh, I don't want that. I want this. I think I changed my mind. I want this one, and they're going around trying to take care of all it. It's incredible watching it happen. I'm so lucky. If they are interested in our signs, we are
how do they get one?
Pawning off signs, right? Yeah. So this is just one of our guys for this year. You can see 2021. We have 4 different cartoon characters or like little characters that they've made. My car's loaded with signs. We're running around delivering them. $150 takes a child shopping. So that's what we ask for one of the signs. Obviously, we take any donation whatsoever because we're a charity. And the great thing about our organization is that when somebody gives us $1, I can tell you that the overhead, we have all the events we run, they take care of anything when it comes to any administrative or any issues like that. So when somebody gives us $1, that dollar goes to take a kid shopping.
It's certainly not investing into a swanky office for you.
No,
no, it's not. If you like to see, I mean, this is sort of my office. I'd like to put things up on the walls everywhere I go. So it give you like a little mini tour. Like I'm in like a little box, but I like to hang stuff up. So whenever somebody sends me a card or sends me a thank you,
I love that.
It goes on my wall and it's all around me. And it makes me feel good when I walk into my office to know that somebody cared, or I have a memory and I have a little bit of space left. So when people send me cards, like I said, there's room for me to hang a couple more up.
So how do people get the sign? They go online?
Yeah. So you can go online. We do have a website. It's westmorelandshopwiththecop.org. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel like that's impersonal. I actually enjoy when they call me. I enjoy listening to people and listening to them talk to me on the telephone. If they wanted to call the state police barracks and just call my office directly, they can reach me through email. It's pretty easy for the email address. I want to get them the signs as soon as possible. So I don't mind going on the honor system. If they say, hey, I'm sending a check in the mail, and they can mail us the checks right to the state police barracks and just put Shop with the Cop on the check. The great part is every single penny goes towards taking the kids shopping. some of the ways we get kids, because I know people always ask about nominating kids and where do kids come from. We don't take self-nominations, right? So we don't say like, oh, my kid wants to go shopping. Well, my kids want to go shopping, if they can get something, right? So we don't take children that way. The main driving force are these business cards. I'll try and hold it close enough to the camera. If you'd like to participate in the Shop at the Cop program this year, don't throw this card away. And we give this to police officers. And then on the other side, it has a way for the police officer to write their information down. So all the police officers in our county have these cards. They are able to carry them in their pockets. They meet a child on the side of the road because of a car crash, a domestic violence situation. A girl was indecently touched by an adult. All these horrific type of things that you hear on a consistent basis. The police officers have the ability to hand the card to the child and take the child shopping. The number 2 ways we're partnered with Children Youth Services, Westmoreland Human Opportunities, and some of the other organizations that have what you would consider maybe children that are having trouble in their life. Right? And then when it comes down to the end, we will also go to the schools, talk to some of the schools about some of the needy children they might have. So if you ran across a child that maybe they lost their loved one over in Afghanistan, or they had somebody pass away in their life and they're struggling financially, they have some difficult times fall on them. You could actually go and nominate a child, because I feel like I don't want to miss someone. Just because you're not in the system doesn't mean you don't have a tragedy and you shouldn't get to go, right? Last year, we ended up taking 807 children shopping. We spent over $120,000. Our area has the largest organization where police officers physically take kids Christmas shopping. And I think that's the really important aspect of it, is spending the time with the child, right? And taking them shopping.
I mean, I'm speechless. I don't know. I don't even know how to end this thing.
How do we end it?
The simplest way to end this thing is to say, hey, YaJagoffs, go buy a sign and support Shop with the Cop.